and welcome to Book 101 Review. Book 101 is all about the books that are read for the last 40 years. And today I have my special guest. He is one of the lawyer in the Pantry or Panther Law, no other than Mr. Mitchell Panter.
Hello, how are you? Pleasure to see you today, Daniel.
I'm fabulous, fabulous like you, Mr. Mitchell. And can you please introduce more about yourself?
My name is Mitchel Panter. I'm an attorney with the personal injury law firm of Panter and San Pedro, located in Miami, Florida. We've been around for more than 30 years. I've been practicing for going into my 39th year now. We do personal injury, wrongful death, medical malpractice, product liability, premise liability, negligence cases, auto, slip and fall. Whenever somebody's injured due to the negligence of somebody else, that's who we represent.
And Mr.
Actually,
Mitchell.
Panterlaw.com, not
Yes,
Panther.
Panther.
Panter law.com.
Oh, sorry for that. So I'm gonna just change that one for a while. So, Mr. Mitchell Panther, thank you so much for sharing your talents to the world. So, what is the legal definition of personal injury?
Well, it starts with negligence. Negligence is a duty to do something, a breach of that duty, a causal relationship, and damages. That's what negligence is. Negligence is when somebody else does something else wrong, not necessarily criminal, a different standard of criminal versus civil. So if you're in a car accident, if you slip and fall, if you're attacked on the property, if medical malpractice is committed, if there's a product and that product is defective in any way, shape, or form, those are the kind of cases that we handle. We represent people that are injured due to the negligence of somebody else. So somebody else, a company, an individual, did something wrong, resulted in damages to you, whether that be loss of wages, whether that be a broken arm, whether that be some sort of other physically incapacitating injury. We represent people that are injured as a result of that.
Interesting. So, what are the most common types of personal injury cases?
The day-to-day work that we do is the auto accident. Now there's a lot of ride sharing. So if you're in a Uber or Lyft or one of those vehicles and you're injured either because that driver did something wrong or because somebody else collided with that vehicle, standard auto accident cases. Slip and falls, you go into a mall, into a supermarket, into a store, there's water on the floor. In a restaurant, there's slippery. You slip, you fall, you get hurt. You go to a hospital and they're supposed to give you X medicine and they give you Y medicine. They're supposed to do this in an operation. While they're operating on your insides, they mistakenly cut the wrong part, causes you a great deal of pain, suffering, disfigurement. Those are the kind of cases that we handle on a day in and day out basis.
So, Mr. Mitchell, how does personal injury law vary from state to state
Uh,
or country to country?
tremendously. Let's start with the state to state. So there's one area or aspect of law called comparative negligence, and that means that you can have done something wrong yourself, but that doesn't mean that you get zero in terms of compensation. So say there's a car accident, and either the judge or the jury or the insurance company judges you to be 50% at fault and them to be 50% at fault. You can still recover, but you only recover 50% of your injury, of your damages. Each state has their own rules and regulations. And likewise, each country has got their own rules and regulations. Several other countries don't allow for negligence cases, don't allow for personal injury attorneys, and it changes. So everywhere you go, it's different. And you need to get a specialist in that particular area that can help you. So if we have a case we're involved in North Carolina, we got several now, or California, we'll gather the lawyers in that area and work with them so that we're versed in that area of law in that state and be able to help people in that state or that country.
So, what are the key factors that determine liability in a personal injury case?
Again, goes to negligence, duty, breach, causation, damages. Somebody did something wrong. They had a duty. I have a duty as a property owner in my building, we're here now. I have a duty to maintain it safely, to make sure there's not water on the floor, there's not dogs running around, there's not the ceiling falling down. That's my duty to you as a person coming into my building. If I breach that duty, I allow a negligent condition to exist. And as a result of that breach, there's a causal relationship between the injuries that you sustain and then the damages that we prove exist, whether you lost wages, whether you incurred medical expenses. Economic and non-economic damages are those factors that we gather together in preparing our case and in presenting it to whether it be an insurance company or judge or a jury.
So, Mr. Mitchell, what should someone do immediately after sustaining a personal injury?
Well, we live in a different world now. It's really different than when I first started practicing. Now, everybody and their mother's got one of these things. Take pictures, document what's going on. If there's witnesses that are around, get their name, get their address, get their phone number. Find out who is in charge or responsible for the area where you're at. Make a report if you can make a report. Seek medical care or treatment immediately, because generally speaking, when people fall or get in an accident, unless they have an immediate kind of injury, it festers and it grows. And a day or two or three down the road is when the bruising comes out and the injuries come out in your body. And it's important to get treated right away. And then likewise, consult with an attorney. The sooner we get a case, the sooner we're able to do our investigations, send our investigators out to gather the records, the reports, the bills, to get the investigator to obtain witness statements, to do research on determining whether there's prior accidents in this area, who's responsible, why they're responsible. So, to act immediate is an important aspect of being able to represent people better from our side.
So, how can personal injury lawyer help a victim navigate their case?
We do everything. So you call us, you tell us, hey, I was in a car accident. And what we do is we will get you to a doctor that can treat you. If you need an orthopedic surgeon, a neurologist, a plastic surgeon, whatever the care and treatment is. If you need a diagnostic study, whether it be an MRI, a CAT scan, an X-ray, we can get you to the correct facility. We can gather the insurance information. We can find out who's supposed to pay. When you're in a car accident, at least in the state of Florida, your car insurance is primary. So all the bills should be processed through the car insurance. Secondary is health insurance. So you need to use all the primary insurance first before you get to the secondary level. So we work it through to make sure everybody gets paid correctly and processed correctly. We gather witness statements. We can make sure that if there's a criminal component to the case, that we're part and parcel of the state attorney's prosecution on your behalf. Do everything to make sure that the case is handled correctly and you get the best result possible.
Interesting, Mr. Mitchell. So, what types of damages can personal injury victim claim?
Well, there's two main parts. One is called economic and the other is non-economic. Economic damages are medical expenses, property damage. If your phone is destroyed in the car accident case, to replace that. If you miss a week of work, you're making $8 an hour, $10 an hour, $20 an hour. Multiply that out by the number of hours you've missed, and you can compensate that. Likewise, non-economic damages is what's called pain and suffering and disfigurement. If you're left with a scar, if you have a relationship with a spouse and that spouse is unable to be intimate with you, that's called a consortium claim. So there's lots of different variables, economic and non-economic, that we pursue for you. And we've got the years and years of experience to figure out what's available for you and how you can get the most bang for your buck and make the biggest recovery possible for you.
How is pain and suffering calculated in personal injury lawsuit?
Hard. It's experience. It's there's no black and white rule for that. So a football player that's a quarterback messes up his finger. His injuries to his finger are going to be more significant than somebody else that doesn't necessarily use their finger. There are books, there are studies, there are documents that you can look to in a similar type of case of what the pain and suffering is worth, but it varies. The loss of a child to a mother as compared to the loss of a pet, as compared to a broken arm. Each of those are different. We base it based on our experience, based on the knowledge that we have, and likewise based upon the amount of available coverage. So you can be catastrophically injured, but if the insurance policy is limited to $10,000, that's all you're going to get. So it's really important to determine and have the lawyer determine for you what's available in terms of recovery, and then base part of the analysis on that.
Very well said, Mr. Mitchell. Very well said. So, what is the statute of limitation for filing a personal injury claim?
So that's an interesting point that you brought up, Daniel. Thank you for doing so. So it used to be 4 years. In an auto accident, in a slip and fall, in a premises, the general negligence statute provided for a 4-year statute of limitations. In a year or two ago, they changed it, so now it's 2 years. So you've only got 2 years within which to pursue a claim. There are certain exceptions to that and variations of that. So, for instance, if you're pursuing a case against a city, a state, a county, a municipality, there's certain time limitations that apply. Cruise ship cases, you've got 1 year statute of limitations. Medical malpractice cases, 2 years with some certain exceptions. So it's really important to have the lawyer know what the statute of limitations laws are in your state, in your area, and be able to pursue it timely. Again, if you wait too long, you might be out of luck.
Hmm, interesting indeed. What role does negligence play in personal injury cases?
Well, again, that get back to negligence. What is negligence? In Law 101, negligence is a duty, a breach, causation, and damages. So, we're not dealing with intentional torts. That's a criminal side of it. So, if I intentionally do something wrong, that's one thing. Let's take a DUI, for instance. So, if I'm driving under the influence and I get in an accident, I crash, you're going to have two different components to that. One is going to be if the state prosecutes you for the DUI, the driving under the influence, and the other is what damages, what negligence did you cause as a result of that. So we deal with negligence cases day in and day out, as compared to the intentional torts or the intentional acts.
So, Mr. Mitchell, how does a personal injury impact a person's physical and mental well being?
Well, again, you got two different components in terms of damages. You've got the economics. So, if physically you go to the doctor and they take an x ray and you break your arm and they put a cast on it, you have a surgery, you've got diagnostic studies, you've got follow up care, you've got therapy. Those are economic components that you're responsible for, as compared to the non economic. If you have pain, you have suffering, you have a scar that's left on you, you've got the inability to go to a wedding, an inability to attend, going with your grandchildren to Disney World for the first time. Those are non-economic damages that you try to put a figure on. Those are the different types of components in a negligence case.
So, how can rehabilitation and therapy help in the recovery process?
Tremendous. That's one of the biggest things. So even if we get a call and we determine that there's no insurance, there's no case, there's nobody that we can pursue a claim against, we encourage people to go to a doctor to get therapy, to get treatment. One of the most overlooked situations is, oh, my arm hurts, and it gets worse, and you can get frozen shoulder syndrome, or you can have a really bad injury that doesn't get treated appropriately, and you're never going to get well. If you get the treatment, get the therapy, do what the doctor tells you to do, not only are you helping yourself physically, but you're helping any case or claim that you might have. But to get that immediate and thorough and complete a course of treatment, doing it the right way with the proper therapist, with the proper doctors, really helps you. And 20 years down the road, when arthritis sets in because you didn't have the right therapy, you'll regret not doing it. So always get to the care and treatment you need and complete it and do it right.
So, speaking of medical, what types of medical documentation are important for a personal injury case?
Records, reports, and bills and diagnostic studies. So there's two different components to that. One is, let's do the easy one first, the billing. You need to get all the bills. You need to make sure the bills are processed correctly. I spoke a moment ago about car insurance being primary and the health insurance being secondary. Some people have Medicare and they have a Medicare supplement. So it's important to get that documented to make sure it gets processed correctly. If it doesn't get processed correctly, you're responsible. You're on the hook for that. To know what co-pays and deductibles and reductions in bills are is a special skill that we have that we work on. The other side is the medical records, not just the physical records, but a diagnostic study, a test. In cases that we've got, sometimes we'll get the doctors to videotape the procedure, and I can use that as evidence in the case. I've got a young lady that had a fractured clavicle, and the doctor took videos of the actual surgical procedure. So whether it be to the insurance company or a jury or a judge, we're able to show what the patient went through and document it and get the records and get the reports and interview the doctor, take a deposition of the doctor. I've got back here, I don't know if you can see it, but I've got various different things, diagrams, and I've got a skeleton, so we can learn a little bit about the body parts, the anatomy, and be able to explain it to whoever it needs to be explained to.
So, Mr. Mitchell, how can someone manage medical expenses while waiting for a settlement?
It's a big problem, and so that's one of the things and one of the reasons why we need to be careful about it. We tell people don't pay anything. Okay, while we're representing you, don't pay anything. Let us deal with it. Let us be responsible. We make sure that the doctors and the hospitals and the healthcare providers receive the correct insurance information so they know who to bill correctly. We follow up with that. Our clients, the patients, will receive what's called an explanation of benefit form, a document saying, we got the bill, we sent it to X health insurance company, they paid this, this is what your responsibility is. At the end of the case, we will review the bills. We will make sure that the bills are paid correctly. So, for instance, you go to the hospital, you have $1,000 bill. Health insurance pays $625. Patient responsibility is $100. There's a $300 difference in there. We get that reduced. We make sure that you're not responsible for it. We call the insurance company, and if they have a right of subrogation or reimbursement, a right to be paid back from any lawsuit, we pay them back, but as little as possible. But that's real important. It's hard to do on your own. The gut knee jerk reaction might be, oh, I got a bill, pay it. Never pay a hospital bill. They're wrong. They're inappropriate. They don't accurately depict whether insurance paid, what your patient responsibility is. So it's good to get the help of a law firm, Panter, and San Pedro, or others, to look through the bills and to make sure everything gets processed correctly.
Certainly. So, what are the biggest challenges personal injury victims face when seeking compensation?
Truthfulness, honesty, responsibility. A lot of times you'll be at a car accident and the other driver will say, oh, let me just give you $500 to go away. Or the Geico or Progressive truck will be there and they'll say, oh, look, you're not that badly hurt. Here's a release, sign the release. Let me give you $1,000 and go away.
Mm,
You'll slip in your fall and they'll say, oh, it was your fault. And it's, nothing really happened. There's video surveillance in most supermarkets and most businesses. So, it's important to always be honest to the lawyer, be honest to, when the accident happened. Don't make stuff up. But on the same hand, don't underestimate. If you're hurt and your leg hurts, don't say, nah, I'm okay, I'm fine. Or it was my fault. That initial knee jerk reaction to speak and to say something oftentimes will bite you in the butt and not necessarily a good thing. So, consult with an attorney, report a claim or an incident when it happens, and get treatment as soon as possible.
certainly. So, how can a businesses and individuals take steps to prevent personal injuries?
Maintain the property correctly. If there's a water leak, put up a sign, clean it. Make sure that you have policies and procedures for, going around the store, going around your office, looking for negligent conditions. Make sure you drive safely. Make sure you're paying attention. Don't be on the phone when you're driving. Common sense things in terms of running your business and doing it correctly. Have video surveillance cameras. Where legal, it's appropriate. If somebody gets hurt on your property, provide them with assistance. Don't ignore them and don't be rude or disrespectful. So many times, if a doctor were to just go into a patient and explain, hey, this happened, I'm sorry, let me make it right, there would be no need for a lawyer. There would be no need
Mm-hmm.
for a case. I'd be out of business. So be respectful, be appropriate. And if there's witnesses, speak to the witnesses, get statements, on either side, whether you're the defendant, the person who's being sued, or the plaintiff, the person who's suing, and be honest and truthful. That's the biggest key.
Be honest and common sense, people. What should someone do if an insurance company offers a loss settlement?
No, no,
No. Big
no.
no.
I see TV commercials and ads and stuff like that, and people come in to me all the time and say, "Hey, the Geico representative in his little vehicle came by and offered me $1,000 if I'd go away." Well, you need to have knee surgery now, and that's going to be 75, 80, $100,000. Don't do that. Never sign a document that an insurance company gives you without having consulted with an attorney. Look through it. Their job is to save money. Their job is to pay as little as possible. Our job is to represent people injured due to the negligence of others and get a fair and reasonable compensation for them based on the facts of the case.
So, what are the risks of handling personal injury case without a lawyer?
The problem is that you might be fine, and I've actually had cases where I had somebody that slipped and fell, and the insurance company offered them money, and I say to them, "Are you hurt?" And they say, "No, not really." Are you okay if they give you $1,000 or $2,000? Yeah. I say, "Okay, take it. If you give it to me, I got to take my 1/3. I got to have costs. I got to spend the time, the effort, the energy on it. And if you're not hurt and you're promised that you're not hurt and you're guaranteed you're not hurt, take the money and run." But if there's any inkling of there being a more serious injury or a possibility, or you don't think they're going to treat you fairly, consult with an attorney. It's always better to at least consult with the attorney. We're fair, we're reasonable. I'm not going to take your case when it's not necessary, and I'm going to give you the best advice possible. That's what we do here at Panter, and San Pedro, different than other firms.
Yes, consult first, people. Better, just like a doctor.
Yes.
So, before we wrap up our discussion, Mr. Mitchell, I'm inviting you to please do listen to my other podcast, Food 101, and fifth season, people, fifth season with
Yay,
my
5 years.
co-host.
That's awesome.
5 years, this time with Book 101 review. My Law 101 is in its first season, so please do listen. Law 101. So, how can the public awareness and legal reforms improve personal injury laws?
Unfortunately, what I've seen is just the opposite. The legal reforms and the public awareness, we ran through this time when people thought badly of lawyers, ambulance chasers were not doing good things. And so they changed the laws, and the laws sometimes have changed negatively, impacting people's ability to recover, to make fair and appropriate recoveries. We continue to fight for justice. We continue to represent people injured due to the negligence of others, and obtain results for them. I can't change the law. So, for instance, in a medical malpractice case, if a loved one of yours is killed due to negligence, unless you're a spouse or a minor child, minor being defined as somebody under the age of 25, you don't have a claim. So if a 75-year-old person that's not married and doesn't have any children under 25 is killed due to the negligence of a hospital or a doctor, there's no recovery. There's no case that's allowed. And we fight hard with the legislator to change that. A 30-year-old, a 35-year-old child still has the right to recover for the loss of their parent, but not under the law in the state of Florida. So, we do our best when we can to lobby to help the system to change it, but it definitely needs a bit of changing to help people that are injured due to the negligence of others.
Mr. Mitchell Panther, thank you so much for giving us information about personal injury laws. And can you please invite our listeners to support your PPS?
Sure. So Panter, and San Pedro. Our website is Panter, Panter law.com. We're located everywhere. You can YouTube and you can find us. Our phone number in Miami, Florida is 305-662-6178. And again, it's panterlaw.com. We're here, happy to help you and consult with you no matter what the case is. We'll help you out.
Yes, people, ignorance of the law excuse no one. So consult the
Always
lawyer.
ask. Never hurts.
Yes. So, Mr. Mitchell, thank you for your time.
My pleasure. Thank you, Daniel.
Modicon people, see you soon.